you build your memories in a space. And, building those memories there makes it feel safe. And I think this relates back to what you were saying about safety being important to a person with a disability, because so much can go wrong so easily in your life in terms of your safety, that having had a safe space for that long and having to leave it can actually be very emotionally difficult.
I came from a domestic violence background, which was not so pleasant, and I didn't feel safe there because I was too scared to go to people to tell my story or tell what's going on with the domestic violence that I was going through. And after I left my partner for that reason, for domestic violence reason, my life started to change, and my life started to have me for the better, I didn't have to feel all pressured, stress, didn't have to keep things in my chest about it, what was going on. I can just let the things split out in the air for people to hear. I don't have to hide things now. So where I'm living now, I feel much safer. I feel much comfortable, happier.
Feeling safe in your own space is very important, I feel. I have to lock my house. Even when I'm home, I have to lock all the doors so I feel safe. I haven't had any real major issues in that regards. It's just something I have to do. I just don't trust where I am. I think it's more the issue. I was in Ballarat for a long time, and I left the doors wide open. I'd leave the house with the doors open, and no one came in and stole things. But where I am now, there's some people out there with drug problems and things like that, and they're very, because where I am in the central area of Dandenong, there's quite a drug problem down there, and I don't really want those people knowing that I'm in here vulnerable by myself, and so I have to lock everything and make sure that no one knows, that no one can get in, even if they know I'm there.
We can't really defend ourselves if we get into a argument or fight or whatever, and so the only way to avoid that is to live somewhere where people can't bother us, like somewhere up high. But there were a few bad people living in the building at the time, but a lot of them have moved out now, and it's a pretty safe area.
One thing I'm very aware of is that I depend on public transport, and there are areas that are less safe when it comes to catching public transport, a little bit more isolated. So I think somewhere that's fairly closer to the city, in my mind, feels safer. I know some people feel safer out in the suburbs, they're out in country areas. There's different concepts for different people of what equals safe. But I think for me, it's where there's crowds of people actually feels safer to me than being in isolated areas.
So for me as a woman, it's very important for me to feel safe in my space. And I'm very, very grateful to my father, because when I moved into this new place, there was an opening in the back courtyard area, and people came in and stole things off the washing line, which scared me, because that meant people were coming into my space. And I'm living in Elwood. Elwood is not a dangerous space, one would think. In fact, when I lived in, I've just moved to Elwood from St Kilda, and yet I felt safer in St Kilda than I do in Elwood. It's kind of strange, but I think I felt safer in St Kilda because I was living in an enclosed. It was the back of the property was cordoned off from the street, whereas the Elwood property had that opening. And thankfully, my father built a fence and a gate and has blocked off that back area for me now. So I do feel safe. I don't feel like there's access that other people can get to the place.
At the moment, I've got someone knocking on my door asking for something so I don't feel safe. So I try to get home before dark and lock the house up as soon as I get in. When I first moved in, we could leave the front door open if it was a nice day and during the night, but now I'm just too scared to even do that. He's in his 60s and he knocks on my door and asks for sex all the time, and that's why I don't feel safe in my own house anymore. I've rang the police and the police say they're coming around, but they never turn up. And I've had to ring them 3 or 4 times and they still don't turn up. I feel like they're not going to listen, and they'll think I'm making it up, and they won't probably do anything because there's no police report saying that he's been there and this is what's happening. So, yeah.
Other people obviously may not have the ability to, advocate for themselves in a way that they can feel empowered to say no, and they may not be, safe. And our home is about being safe.
For other women, if they are going through the domestic violence as well, and if they feel contaminated, scared, petrified, they should, and if they want to get that help, there is help out there. If they want to leave their partners for domestic violence, and if they want to go to the Women with a Disability Victoria for domestic violence, or the Aboriginal ones as well, with the domestic violence, if they want counsellors and all that to come and help them, they can, because it's not right with the guy hitting a woman. It is a domestic violence. And if they, the police can get involved as well, and you can put a restriction order on them as well. Because if there's too much domestic violence going on, that person can go to jail.
If you live with a person that you don't like and you don't feel safe around, best to get out while you can, like when you're young, when you have the money, and when you have someone to spend your life with. Even if you don't at that time, make the move anyway. Because one day you might look back and think it's too late, but it's never too late if you want to change your life